you all. Thank you. So kind. I want to welcome everyone who is watching online today. If we have never met before, my name's Chris. I'm the lead pastor here at Our City Church, and we welcome you wherever you're watching from. We know we've got some people across the pond in London. We want to greet you. We also know we have some people watching in South Africa this morning, maybe tomorrow. I'm not really sure. I'm bad at the whole international time zone thing. But we greet you and welcome you into Our City Church and Our City Online. Thanks for being here. To everyone here in Southern California, love you. Thanks for being here. You look amazing. Gosh, you guys look good. What time did you get up to look so good today? I'm telling you, not all of you, but most of you. Just kidding. Hey, I am really excited to share one of my just prized friendships on this earth with you again today. I know if you were here a month and a half ago or so, you got to hear from Pastor Mike Meeks. How many of y'all were here when Pastor Mike was here? Y'all remember? You guys saw, watched, heard? Okay. So if you've not heard Pastor Mike before, you picked the right Sunday to be here. If you would have picked the Sunday I told you about 2 weeks ago, you would have been here last week, but that was my bad. So I told everyone like 2 weeks ago, hey, come next week. We're going to hear about parenting from Pastor Mike. You know, he's parented kids. He's got adult kids. He's got grandkids. They all like him. They all want to come around. That's a success story. And so let's hear from him. I have a 6-year-old. What do I know? And so that was the plan. And then I got off stage after that. They're like, he's not here next week. He's here in 2 weeks. I was like, So all of you who came last week waiting to see him, you were disappointed, and thanks for coming back today. I want to tell you why we made the decision to bring him back during our Love Hurt series, as we're talking about, hey, if you love, you have experienced some hurt. And so we want to heal from those hurts, but we also want to be able to identify how do we keep those hurts from showing back up again next time? How do we make next time better than last time, okay? And so today it came about because actually when he was here speaking before, he came up the day before, and we went and hung out, we were playing golf together, and we're right on the cart, and he just started sharing and talking about some of the things of his upbringing, of him bringing up his own kids. And, you know, I'm a young dad. We have a 6-year-old, Brent and I. And so I was just like hearing some of the things he said. I was like, you got to come back. I know we're having you now, but I need you to come back and tell my church this. And here's why. As he shared, I realized that there was so much that was to be known that I want, as a pastor, I want you to know. I want you to know if you don't have kids, I want you to know how to heal the relationship and to make your relationship with your own parents better, right? If you want to have kids, I want you to learn this stuff way before they show up, so you're not learning like on the clock as much as you're going to have to anyways. And if you have kids, I want you right now to get real-time help, real-time wisdom to be able to help you be able to make it better and to move forward with it. And so I'm grateful to God for him. He is extremely funny if you're clever enough to listen to it. If not, then you'll be listening to everyone else laugh going, what'd he say? I don't get that. What? I don't understand. So you're going to have to like tune in here. But I want you to open up your heart. I really believe that God's anointed his message for today. And I'm going to be taking notes as a parent. I'm in the seat with you too. But would you give Pastor Mike Meeks an awesome Our City Church welcome back, okay?
Love you too. Thanks, Mike. Hi. Good to see you. I use paper. I'm old. I just am not going to put this on like an iPad or just use my phone because I know I'll do some stupid thing and it's gone. You know, so that's me. Hey, parenting. I thought of another title for, Parenting 101 is what we call this. I think another title that could really be appropriate would be Parenting is Impossible. Well, at least perfect parenting is impossible. And if that's the goal, sorry, I got nothing. If perfect parenting is the goal, I mean, look at it this way. God had 2 kids, Adam and Eve. They rebelled. Then their kid killed their other kid. So that would mean God sucks as a parent. So if all you're saying is, I just want to be a perfect parent, but I really do want to do better than God did. There's just no hope at all. One pollster, Gallup poll, this was years ago, was going door to door doing a survey of, who's in the household and what would you do differently, these kinds of things. Knocked on this one door, and this frazzled mom with 3 little kids, all under the age of 5, answered the door. And they're screaming. She's holding one. One's pulling on the cat's tail. It's chaos. And one of the questions he's asking as she's there just exhausted said, if you had it to do over again, would you have kids? She said, yes, I would, not the same ones. And that's understandable. Grandparenting is way better than parenting, okay? I just got to tell you. Yeah, it's hard for you to get your hands up like that now at your age, but thank you for that. One of the reasons that grandkids and grandparents get along so well is they have a common enemy. And we work together against the parents, yes. There are no perfect parents. You didn't have one. You're not one. There are no perfect kids. You weren't one, and your kids aren't either. That's just the truth, which means that there are no perfect families, yours or mine. And so I'm going to tell you where I'm going to end today, because you're going to need this as you listen to this. A lot of grace. You're going to have to give a lot of grace, and in order to give a lot of grace, you're going to have to be receiving a lot of grace, because you're going to make a whole lot of mistakes. I know for myself, to do this parenting thing, the only thing that I was lacking was ability, training, and skill. Other than that, I had it wired. My dad was a absentee alcoholic who died when I was 9. And so my mom, with 7 kids, 6 boys, 1 girl, and it was a chaos. And she was working, and so the idea of free range, sometimes free range kids, we were free range kids, and I'm number 7 of 7, so I was free range. Okay. Hey, watch your brother today. I'm busy. Oh yeah, they watched me as they left. That was about it. So I was on my own. Well, a couple things. If you're a note taker, write this down. Resist the pressure to make your children experience rich and relationship poor. And folks, there is so much pressure out there to have all these great experiences for your kids. And you work real hard for it, and you drive them here and there and everywhere, and you pay for this thing and that thing, and they got to have soccer lessons, and then they got to be on this team and that team. It just gets overwhelmed. Of course, piano, you got to have piano, because every kid should be tortured with piano lessons. And then, tennis. Yeah, well, I sucked at tennis, but my kid's going to make me rich, as a tennis player. It's just ridiculous. We get the idea, no, they're going to do this because you failed as an athlete. They are going to be a great athlete. They're not. Okay? Just get over it. Well, they've got to be in this league in order to get in that league. Your kid is never going to play professionally. Okay? Probably won't even make it in high school. All right? I mean, unless they're homeschooled. Okay. Aren't you glad you came? Yeah. Here's another one. Write this down. The quality of a relationship with your children will determine the weight of your influence. Do you want to have influence in your kids' lives down the road? It's about the relationship that you're building with your kids. The quality of the relationship with your parents determines the weight of their influence in your life. Think about this one. If you have no relationship with your father, just didn't exist, wasn't good, he wasn't around, whatever, and suddenly he wants to start giving you all kinds of advice now as an adult. How seriously are you taking that? Yeah. Not very. Not very. You may be on the other end of the spectrum. You may be the adult, and your parents continue to have influence in your life. Why? Because you've been building a relationship. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. How do we go about that? What does that look like? And it changes. About the time I get one phase of this parenting thing down, they're done. And now I'm back to, I have no idea. And that's sort of the revolving door that we continue to go on and through and around, and it really can be tough. There's so much time for different relationships that you have in your life. We invest a lot of time, but the one constant in your relationships in your life are going to be your kids. That's going to continue, hopefully, to go on throughout your entire life. How many friends have come and gone in your life? How many people who signed your high school yearbook are you tight with? Probably not many. The desire should be that we continue lifelong friendships with our kids. And what goes around comes around. When they were little, I wiped their butt. And one day, hopefully not any day soon, but it's coming. Okay, there's a couple things. We're going to do this little graph thing. We're going to build this real quickly. But there's this timeline, and this is lifetime, okay? And these little dotted lines, those are the different phases we're going to talk about. And throughout this, you're going to find you've got this authority in your kids' lives. This authority theme, and you see it's going to ramp up and come down. And then you have the friendship line in this thing. And it starts off low and then goes up. This is the ideal. This is the ideal, which by the way, none of you are achieving. Okay? It's just the ideal. We're getting there. We're learning. We're trying to figure this thing out. And then you've got the 4 different roles. The first one is nurse. That's what you are. And you'll see as we go through. The next one is the king or the queen phase. You got all kinds of authority. Oh yeah, it's peaking at this stage. And then you move into the coach stage. Okay, the authority's coming down, the friendship's going up. And then finally, you have the friendship stage. And that's the goal. Ultimately, this is where we want to go. This is the ideal. This is what we're heading to. Now, what I want to do is just talk about each of these phases. The first one is the nurse, the care, the nurture, the protection side of this agenda. The nurse phase is when there's very low authority and very low friendship. Now, whenever I say that, there's always somebody who goes, oh, but my baby and I, we're the best of friends. No, you're not. You're not. You're not. You're just a useful human in their life at that point. All right? You're not. You don't have any authority. What happens to a little boy as soon as you take the diaper off? He pees against the wall. Okay? You can't say, stop. You're not going to do it. They're not going to do what you say. And it's just, there's no authority there. The friendship thing is part of bonding. Of course, you're bonding, but you're not hanging out, hey, let's grab a beer, None of that is happening at this stage. You're just caring for, meeting needs, and there's no expectation that they're going to say, hey, thanks. There's no return other than just a beautiful baby that smiles and has your heart completely. That's the phase. Paul uses this nurse stage to illustrate his care for the church in 1 Thessalonians. As apostles of Christ, we certainly had a right to make some demands of you, but instead, we were like children among you, or we were like a mother feeding and caring for her own children. This is how he viewed the church, that we are a place where there's stages in the life of a church where it's a nursing stage. You are caring for. You are protecting. And that's, we do that together. We do that with and for one another. All these phases, there's no hard and fast age breakdown. Now, this one stops at 2. This one at 16. There's no number phase, and it's different, and it's confusing. And sometimes there's this blurring. And so you kind of look for the signals. What does this look like? One of the signals is when your little one starts to speak and uses the word, no! Then you go, okay, we're moving now into the king and queen phase. That's what, once they start that kind of talking back and you see this little rebellion rise up. Okay? And you're saying, oh, not mine. Those two beautiful kids that were up here today, they're going to be a problem. See, this is when you start going, okay, I'm still going to, there's still some nurse phase here, but now I'm moving into this next phase. And it's so important that you understand this because the next phase is really important. The king or the queen, the leadership, the direction. A dad needs to be king in the home. A mom needs to be queen in the home. That's just it. Absolute authority. Okay? You ready for this? Some of you are like, this is a hard phase for you. You don't like it. And, you want to be buddies. Well, the king and the queen, they articulate the rules of the kingdom under that roof. That's their job. Guess what? You're actually smarter than them. You actually have more life experience than them. You actually understand the world better than they do. And some homes become way overly kid-centric, just overdone. And so you're always looking for, what's the happy hack, of raising my kid? How do I make sure that they're just so fulfilled and so happy? That's the goal here. No, it's not. It's not the goal. The goal at this stage is that they understand how to live under authority. Okay, that's an important phase that they learn because you're not going to make them happy. You can't do everything that will make them happy. And what they think will make them happy, they're wrong. If they set the menu, it'd be, well, we need to have, nothing but ice cream and no vegetables in this home. You've got to set that whole thing up. Now, it's also important in this process that if you're just trying to make them happy, then when you've got business of the kingdom to attend to, we're going to run these errands, we're going to do this thing, and they're going to be with you. We often try to buy them off in those situations. Stop that. Manage their expectations. I just want you to know, we're going to stop at the store. I've got these 2 errands to run. We're going to drop this off over here. And by the way, when we go, you're getting nothing. We're not buying you anything. And, one of the things that we did with our kids is, well, but I really want, whoa. Nobody likes, and they'd make them finish the sentence because they'd learned it, a whiny kid. And they hated it. Or when I whine, I get nothing. Nothing. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. But some parents don't really want to be that king or queen. It feels bad for them. And they want their kid to like them. Don't worry about it. They don't like you. Okay? It's going to be all right. And we want our kids to express themselves, even if it's negative and rebellious. I've talked to some parents who say things like this, and I know I'm old school, all right, and all the stuff on Instagram I'm going to be like bad man, okay, and I don't care. But they say things like this: you should never say no to your child. That's stupid, all right? That's just now. That is my opinion. I get that. And we're going to go over a number of scriptures that I've twisted to fit my opinion. The point is, do not abdicate your throne. Don't abdicate the throne. It's hugely important. If you want to get to this stage, don't abandon these other stages. They are all building toward where you really want to be. Don't jump to it. You can't do that. It won't work. Now, I did not say be an abusive king. This is not the green light to be the ogre queen. This is not that at all. Discipline is hugely important, which is just what? Exercising authority appropriately. That's what discipline is. Exercising authority appropriately. Not abusive, not angry. You have a job to do. You have a role to fulfill. Gary Smalley, great counselor, author, he wrote a book called The Key to Your Child's Heart. He said this: children need a sense of discipline and authority in their lives to help them develop emotionally and physically. It gives children a sense of security to know what their boundaries are. But understand, they are going to test those boundaries. They're going to complain about those boundaries. They are going to point out every other family that they know in the neighborhood that does not have those boundaries. And your response is to be, I don't care. You're not a nurse. You care in the nursing stage, yes. But you don't care now, right? So what do? You set clearly defined limits by writing a contract. Now, at the appropriate age. And you'll have to determine when in grade school do you write the contract. We had contracts with our kids. We learned, sign these. And we let them give input on the contract. For example, when you come home from school, you can get a snack. If you've got some chores to do, you do the chores. If you've got some homework to do, you do the homework. And then you go play. That's the contract. That's the way it works. These are the rules of the kingdom. That's how it is. And then supervise the living of these limits regularly. In other words, if you're going to set the contract, do it. Inspect what you expect. Stick to it. And then consistently handle resistance appropriately. Sometimes it's, you know what, those little crack machines that they're on all the time. Maybe, just giving them cocaine would be better than a phone. This is, again, just an opinion. There's no scriptural relevance to any of that. Articulate the reality of what it is to live in your kingdom, under your roof. That's how they learn impulse control. Delayed gratification is a wonderful thing to learn. And here's what my kids said a lot. But Dad, it's not fair. Yours too. It's not fair. So I wrote a song. It's a very popular song, and I have not copyrighted it, and you can use it whenever you want. And so whenever they said, but Dad, it's not fair, they would catch themselves and go, but Dad, it's not. And they didn't even want to say it because I would go, and they go, no, don't sing that stupid song. And I would go like this. Life. Go with me. Life's not fair. And it'll never be fair. Because life's not fair for you or me or anyone else. There you go, huh? Now, then I go, let's try this. I know it's a lot of work especially if you're grandparents. You're going, how do I do this? And some of you have no rhythm at all. So you're already on, the wrong beat on this thing. Okay, so here we goes. Life. Life's not fair, and it'll never be fair. And it'll never be fair because life's not fair. Because life's not fair for you or me or anyone else. There's my gift to you today. All right. Another way to look at this too, this whole king phase, is you're a PR director. Privileges have corresponding responsibilities. Because if you don't have those two going together, if you've got privileges and no responsibilities, what you have then are entitlements. You can't raise healthy kids with just filling their lives with entitlements. They just deserve it. I should just have that. Well, no. Matter of fact, I never gave an allowance to my kids. I gave them wages. And wages had to be earned. So if they didn't do their chores, then you didn't earn an allowance. It's okay. You didn't want to do the chores? You get nothing. Yeah. Can you believe my kids like me still? And the funny thing is, they're doing the same thing to their kids. Some of you struggle with the king and queen phase, partly because maybe your parents didn't transition out of it. And so you can react to that stage in your own life if you see that your mom or your dad are still trying to, be the king or the queen in your life, telling you exactly what to do about everything. Now, if you're here with your parents, I'd suggest you not look to your right or left at this point. What you're really doing by saying, I'm not going to do this phase, you're just rebelling against your parents' style. Or you're trying to jump to the friendship phase without the process. And then there's no foundation for the friendship you really desire and that God desires for you. Now, there's another phase here. What about this, you don't have the nuclear family. Or maybe you're the step king or the step queen. Now, if you're that, then there's another one somewhere else, and they suck, but you're awesome. And you can give all kinds of very specific reasons why that's true. But the reality is, being the step king or the step queen is hard. It's a hard job. And I was talking with one step king, and he was just saying, when it comes to discipline the kids, I don't discipline her kids. I said, really, you just don't love them at all then, huh? What? What do you mean? Well, if you're not going to discipline them, it's because you don't love them. And we'll get into that in a second. But what about being on the same page when it comes to parenting both you and the ex that probably sucks? Well, how do you get on the same page? One of my favorite verses, Romans 12:18, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. As far as it depends on you. Make the effort. Try. Well, if we could have done that, we'd still be married. Well, maybe you've grown a little bit since then. Maybe they've grown a little bit since then, but you have a common goal, and that is you both love these kids. Communicate as much as possible. Get along as much as possible. And when it comes to communication, do not debate the legislation of the kingdom in front of the subjects. Okay? So, if dad says, this is what's happening, we're going to do this. And they go, oh, and then the queen says, oh, wait a second, I don't know if that, no. You say, pardon me, but could we go into closed session and you go into the war room without those kids and you come back as a united front? Do not negotiate the legislation, the laws and rules of the kingdom in front of them. Why? Because they're watching this and now they know they're going to divide and conquer. Why would they do this? They are little sinners. Okay? You've got to own that. It's a reality. I know your kids, oh, my, so sweet. They're sinners. Dr. Beth Grosses, she wrote a book called Beyond Time Out. She said this, regardless of his level of maturity, intelligence, or judgment, in order to function optimally, be secure, and develop a healthy capacity for emotional regulation, a child must grow up in a family structure where parents are in the lead. This is ultimately why parents need to prevail in the majority of daily struggles. The constant drip of parental accommodation, which in the short term can look insignificant, can in the long run seriously compromise the context of relational leadership that is so central to a child's well-being. Okay, this is one of the hardest parts. I was raised by a single mom, right? So from 9 years old on, she was tired. And man, they're relentless. They're little relentless sinners. And they're going to beat you down. That is their goal. And they're going to get what they want now. They don't want to delay gratification. They want gratification at all costs, including your mental health. I might be painting a slightly exaggerated picture on this, but it's still pretty good. We get tired, and so it's like, fine, whatever. For me, with my grandkids, my wife finally said to me, would you just let that go? And here's what I was letting go. When we're at the dinner table, and they're eating like they're really just a wood chipper, you know? And it's just like, the place is a mess. And it's like, what in the heck? Okay, my daughter and her husband, they left town, that had to go fly out to Florida, and said, hey, can you stay here and watch the kids Thursday through Sunday? I had this, so I couldn't be with them the whole time, so I'm here with you. No, they're awesome. But night before last at dinner, 15-year-old Dylan, I look at Reverend Lasagna, and you know how kids, they use a napkin. They wall it up in a ball and then try to, instead of learning how. So I'm like, I try. I'm trying to not say anything because my wife's just going, let it go. And I'm like, I said, dude, how do you do this? Look at that napkin. There's lasagna all over it. And he looked at me and says, oh, thank you, Grandpa. The next time I'm scheduled to have tea with the Queen, I'll get a hold of it and you can help me. And I said, that was really well played. I got to give you props on that one. That was good, and I let it go. I'm being trained here too. Proverbs 19, discipline your children while you still have the chance. Indulging them destroys them. Now, I want to break this apart and look at some profoundly deeper meanings, but there aren't any. I got nothing. That's what it means. Discipline them while you have the chance, because if you don't do it, and you're going to just continue to indulge them, you will destroy them. They will never grow into fully formed adults. At some point, then you move into the coaching phase. Coaching, training, encouragement. You're looking for those shifts. Are we moving into, the next phase? Because you're kind of in dual mode at those dotted lines, trying to figure it out. My son, when his son was 8 years old, he texted me this. He says, Jager said this, I wonder what a wedgie feels like. Now he knows. He's coaching him up, into junior high. The best one of where those lines are, when one of my grandsons was 11, mom's picking him up from school. He's 11 years old. She says, how was your day? And he's kind of a little bit of an Eeyore sort of personality. And, it was real, not that great. Well, this one, he gets in the car. How was your day? Best day of my life. She goes, really? She's shocked to hear this. Why? She goes, we had a hot Latina substitute teacher. And she could sense there was a shift. We're moving into a new phase. There's a lot of blurring of when you move through these different phases from king to coach is one of the hard ones. And there are certain laws of the kingdom that just apply to living under my roof. And in that, moving that king to coach, well, when do you do it? I was talking with a mom a number of years ago after church. She said, Pastor Mike, I just can't get my 14-year-old son to come to church. I said, wow. I said, where does he live? And she says, well, what do you mean? I said, well, does he live at his father's house or his grandparents' house? Or no, he lives at my house. I said, oh, I see. Well, there's certain rules of the kingdom. One of the ones at my house is that if you live at my house, we go to church. I don't want to go to church. Well, don't even remember that coming up as a question. This is what we do, and it's just one of those rules. Another one of my rules was, if you're done high school, you have a job or you're going to college. It's amazing to me. how many parents I talk to that go, oh, my son is just not motivated, and he just plays games all day, and I'm going, okay, and so like, doesn't he get tired of not being able to ever buy some new shoes or never ever having any money to go out with his friends? Doesn't he get tired of that? Well, no, we buy his clothes and we give him money. And I said, then why would he get a job? Sounds like you have a bright young man in your home. There are two not bright people, and they're not the kids, okay? I mean, come on. So, but, when can they begin to make those kinds of decisions on their own? Or they're making that choice, kind of the rules of the kingdom stuff, they want to change it. When can that happen? When they pay you fair market value for room and board. If they're not paying you after they've left high school, they've got their jobs, I'm not talking about in college. If they're in college, I get that. But they need to be paying you, or they'll stay. I'm warning you, they will stay. A coach is on the sidelines. This coaching phase is when you're having to let go, and it's hard. It's hard. Think of student driver. You're in the passenger seat, and now you got a 15-and-a-half-year-old in the driver's seat, and you're heading out into traffic. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. We were driving down the road. My daughter was driving. She's a student driver, and we were on a vacation. It was like rural Oregon by the coast. And she's driving, and on this highway, and all of a sudden, there was no real traffic around, and she just moved in to the other lane, the oncoming traffic lane. It was a long straightaway, and I'm going. I didn't say anything. I'm going, what is she doing? And so I just thought, I'm going to ride this out a little bit. There's no cars coming, and then there's a car on the horizon coming our way. And I said, Heather, did you notice that there's a car up there? Uh-huh. Have you noticed yet you're in their lane? Oh, I thought they were both mine. But she's still not pulling over. We're just discussing this as this other car is bearing down. I wanted, like nothing else, to just grab the wheel, pull over, say, hit the brakes, get out of there. But, that's the coaching phase. I'd like to ask you, if you'd maybe get into the other lane over here. It's hard. It's terrifying. I hated it. But it's also really an important phase. Now, this means that, for example, when you got younger kids, when your kid has an art project that's due at school, who does the art project? The kid does the art project. I know your volcano failed in 4th grade, and this is your shot of redemption. Let it go. It's not about you. Okay, their success at the volcano stage has nothing to do with how awesome you are. Okay, so just let it go. They do their own stupid art project, all right? Or whatever science thing or whatever it is. Don't allow your self-esteem to get caught up in their success. That A that you're hoping you're getting through them is not worth it. Coaching includes helping them with impulse control. They get to a stage and they want to talk back. They want to assert themselves. And there's a part of that that's good. They need to be able to say, well, wait a second. Well, present your argument. Dad, I don't think that's what we should do here. I'd like you to consider, well, why? Sell me. And that's a great exchange. They're growing into being able to express themselves in an appropriate way. I was having a discussion with my son when he was 14, 15 years old, and we're having this discussion. He goes, "That's it. I'm done." And he walked out, goes into his room, and slams the door. That didn't really work for me. And we were really needing to complete this discussion. So I went in to the garage, and I got a hammer and a screwdriver, and I just popped those hinges off of that door. And he goes, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm taking the door." "Well, I deserve some privacy." I said, "Well, actually, this is my door. You're in my room. All the stuff in here, it's all mine. You're just borrowing it, okay? And when you leave, it's going to become like a smoking den for me and my buddies, okay? It's cigars and nothing else, And so he's like, "Wait." I said, "You know what? You can earn some privacy. And when you do, I'll put the door back. But if you want to slam a door, you'll have to go to the garage for a while, because that's where it'll be." I knew that there would be times when, a college professor said something he didn't like, or a teacher in high school, or a boss. And you can't just walk out and slam the door. You have to have some impulse control. They got to learn it in that coaching stage. Now, just in case, I'm giving you all these examples of where I rocked as a dad, I was awesome. There were a whole lot of failures, okay? There were times when I wanted to just shut it down. I was tired, and I got mad, and I said it in anger, and it was not good. And I would have to go back and say, "Okay, that whole thing just happened there. I'm sorry. I said that in a hurtful way, in an angry way, and I just want you to know that I am sorry and I want to do better. Please forgive me." Where will they learn to do that? From me. If I don't admit my own mistakes, if I don't repent for my mistakes, if I don't do what it's going to take to make it right, then I'll be training them to not admit their mistakes, to blame other people for their problems. They've got to learn it from me as a coach, and that's hard. One quick question. Are you still trying to be a nurse to your teenager? For example, do you have to go in and wake them up 2 or 3 times to go to school? "Come on, honey, let's go. It's time to get up." And 5 minutes later, hey, sleepyhead. Get up now. Time to go. And again and again and again. You need to coach them up. This is an alarm clock. This is how it works. I don't wake you up anymore. If you got something you got to be at, this is what you use. It's an alarm clock. Now you have it on your phone. It's everywhere, right? Easily done. But still, what do? "Hey, little buddy. Let's shake a leg." You're still being a nurse. Quit it. You're setting them up to succeed when you're not around. That's what a coach does. Because are you going to go, "Hey, just glad you're in college. I'm in your dorm room. Get up, honey." That's really going to be weird. A coach can't go do it all, but is there on the sidelines encouraging and coaching. Here's how it's done. Here's how you do it. And you give them opportunities to fail. Sometimes we don't want them to fail at anything, and it's a mistake. That first time I said, "Ryan, we're not waking you up 2 or 3 times anymore. Set your own alarm. You've got, you can do this." That very next morning, he goes, "Well, nobody woke me up. I'm going to be late for school." I went, "Yeah, remember we had talked about this yesterday?" He goes, "But I'm going to be late for school." I said, "Yeah, let me know how that goes." It was like done. I was done. And it was great. It was great. Oh, but what if, he doesn't get the grades and doesn't get into Harvard? Your kid ain't going to Harvard. Let it go. You'd be lucky to get into community college. I probably won't be back to speak ever again. One day we were driving down the road, and all of a sudden Ryan is like, McDonald's, let's stop at McDonald's. Well, no, we don't have time. We got to go. He just threw such a fit. Finally, he said, fine, McDonald's. Besides, it was his car. He was driving. So let the kids grow up, okay? Give them the opportunity to fail, or they'll never succeed. And when they fail, let them experience the consequences. You've got to give them that chance. Now, if you are sitting next to your teen, they're whispering to you now, do not listen to this bad man. He is from the devil, and he will ruin our family. 1 Thessalonians 2. And you know that we treated you each of you as a father treats his own children. We pleaded with you, encouraged you, and urged you to live your lives in a way that God would consider worthy. For he called you to share in his kingdom and his glory. That's what coaches do, so that you could share in the kingdom as friends. That's the fourth stage. The friend role is now where we're peers. I'm enjoying, my kids are 43 and 41. And we're friends. We don't agree on everything. They have their own views on a lot of things. And we have learned to love each other beyond them and through them. And we're still in it. But we're friends. And we have a safe place where they know that they can land, where they know that they'll be loved without a doubt. And we have imperfectly navigated this. And primarily, when things have really blown up in our family, I have to admit, it's been my wife's fault. Pretty much never has that been true. I'm always the one that jacks it up. I'm always the one that, comes down with the authority when it's like, whatever, Dad, don't think so. I'm the one that gets these lines mixed up more often than not. But it's a worthy goal. It's a worthy goal. If you want to have lifelong friendships, you have to honor the phases. You can't just jump from king to buddy. It won't work. You have to honor the developmental process. Jesus said this in John 15, "You are my friends when you do the things I command you. I'm no longer calling you servants, because servants don't understand what their master is thinking and planning. No, I've named you friends because I've let you in on everything I've heard from the Father." We're all in a process with God, and I want to end with where I started. One essential element in all of this is grace, because you're going to fail. You're going to have times when you're just too tired to do the stuff. And you need to give yourself grace. And then they're going to fail. And they're going to need grace. Grace just needs to be spread over all of this relationship stuff. We all need it. Giving it, and then you have to receive it. Maybe you lost your temper on the way here today. Shut up. Don't make me stop this car and come back there. That never happened. I've just heard about parents that did that. Inconsistent disciplines, we get too tired to coach. Have you allowed God to be a parent to you in these phases? Or do you only want him to be nurse and friend? You don't want a king. Regardless of the wreckage in the rearview mirror, regardless of how jacked up your family was growing up, we have a Father who loves us, who will give us abundant grace and will help us figure this thing out. I think sometimes not knowing how to do it is a great place to allow God to move in our hearts, allow the Holy Spirit to shape us into His image in this process. Would you pray with me? Well, Lord, we all know that this parenting challenge is so hard at times, yet so fulfilling. Lord, help us. Help us, Lord God, to follow you in it, to trust you in it, and that when we do it imperfectly, that we would receive your grace and then give it away freely. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Pastor Mike. I don't know about you, but I'm challenged today in some really important areas of my own life. And I'm excited for next Sunday so much right now. I want to say thank you for your friendship and your investment into my life, into my marriage, my parenting, and into my pastoring. And into our church. Our church wouldn't exist. I told you this when we were walking in. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And you had the vision for this region, this area, and the way our church is before I did, and before I fully understood how to understand God's voice the way that you did. And you pastored me and walked me through that. And I want to make sure that you know that I appreciate that, and I want my church to know that as well. So love you very much. Yeah. I want to invite all of you next week to set your clocks correctly, like he talked about with clocks and alarms. Let's all use them. It's daylight savings next weekend, which I'm not sure what that means. I'm sure all you organized people know if you sleep more or less. I never know. The alarm on my phone tells me when to get up, and then I feel it or I don't feel it, and I'm not really quite sure, and I figure it out as I go. Here's what I do want to tell you. We are all about the next generation, and so our next generation, is really our heart here. Pastor Kellen has put together an incredible week next week. Your kids get to have the ultimate pajama party next week, okay? So you don't have to get them ready. Okay, you don't have to show up and show that you are a great parent at that. You could just go skip it. Just leave them in their pajamas, bring them here. He's going to have the ultimate kids event. It's a great weekend to invite friends. Say, just throw the kids in there. Let's bring them as they are. Okay, that's next week. Now, I got to tell you, next week I'm going to be preaching, I think, it's going to end up being one of my favorite messages I think I've ever preached ever. I actually told Pastor Mike about it today when we were back stage before service started, and I just shared with him what I was going to say, and his response to me was, "Where'd you get that from? Like, did you read that? Did you see that?" I'm like, "No, I came up with it. I've just thought about it for a while, and I really have never gone public with it. I've never shared it." And he goes, that's got the touch of God. That's powerful. That's going to be a powerful Sunday. I can't wait to see what happens. And so I want you to know I feel a huge responsibility over next Sunday. I think it's one of the most important things that I wish to God I would have known when I was a kid, teenager, college student, single, young married, young dad, pastoring, all stages. I'm really looking forward to it. So I would really want to challenge you. Whoever in your life, family, friendship is just, matters to you. I don't care if you coach with them, your kids play together, you work with them, and if you've invited them before, I want to ask you to make another appeal and another invite. and do what you can to get people into the room next week, because I really believe God's going to speak something that's profound. And I ask you to pray for me this week, pray for me, my wife, my family, and just that God will look after us as we get ready to have an awesome weekend next week. Bring your kids in their pajamas, church. We love you so much. Let's go change the world together. We'll see you Sunday. Bye.